The rain hit the metal roof of Taiho Kim's workshop like bullets. Thunder rolled across the dark sky above New Busan Colony. Inside his cluttered shop, Taeho wiped grease from his hands and looked at the broken mining drill on his workbench. Another long day of fixing things that other people had broken. Taiho was 42 years old and had been fixing machines for most of his life. His workshop sat on the edge of the colony, far from the busy center where aliens and humans traded goods from across the galaxy. He liked it quiet. Most days, only miners came to his shop with broken equipment. That was fine with him. The storm outside was getting worse. Wind howled through the gaps in the metal walls. Joe had seen many storms on this frontier planet, but this one felt different, more violent, more angry. He was reaching for his coffee when the front door of his shop exploded inward. Metal pieces flew across the room. The door frame bent and twisted like paper. Rain and wind rushed inside, scattering papers and tools everywhere. Joe threw himself behind his workbench, heart pounding. Through the destroyed doorway stepped something from a nightmare. The creature was huge, maybe 9 foot tall. Its body was covered in dark metallic scales that reflected the lightning outside. It had a long tail that dragged on the floor and claws that could tear through steel. Wings folded against its back. Steam rose from its nostrils with each breath. This was a Drari. Taiho had heard stories about them, but had never seen one. They were dragon-like aliens who lived far from human space. Warriors who could breathe plasma hot enough to melt metal. Most humans were terrified of them, but District Harry was not acting like a warrior. In his massive arms, he carried another Drari. This one was smaller, clearly female, and she was dying. Her scales, which should have been shiny and metallic, were turning gray and brittle. Strange crystal growths covered parts of her body like a disease. She was barely breathing. The male Drari looked around the workshop with desperate eyes. When he saw Joe hiding behind a workbench, he stumbled forward. "Please," the alien said in broken human language. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Help her. Please help my mate." Joe stayed behind his workbench. His hands shook as he gripped a wrench. Asterisk, I'm just a mechanic. I fix machines, not people. Asterisk. "She dies," the Drachnary said. Tears ran down his scaled face. "Our doctors cannot help. Our medicine cannot help. She dies, and I cannot stop it." The female Drari in his arms made a weak sound. More crystal growths were spreading across her scales, even as Taiho watched. Whatever was wrong with her was getting worse fast. "Why did you come here?" Taiho asked. "Why my shop?" The male Drari carefully laid his mate on the floor. "I am Kyle. She is Lyra. We heard humans think different. Fix things others cannot fix. Please, I beg you." Joe had never heard a Drari beg for anything. These were proud creatures who valued honor above life itself. For this one to humble himself like this meant he truly had no other choice. Slowly, Joe stood up. He looked at the dying female on his workshop floor. The crystal disease was unlike anything he had ever seen, but something about it looked familiar. "Tell me what happened to her," Joe said. Kale's eyes filled with hope. "We are explorers. We found old ship in dead space. Very old. Inside were energy crystals. Powerful, beautiful. Lyra touched one." His voice broke. "Since then, she grows sick. Crystals grow on her skin. Doctors say her body becomes stone. They say she will die in days." Joe knelt down next to Lyra. Up close, he could see the crystal growths more clearly. They were not random. They followed patterns across her body like circuits in a machine, like the patterns he had seen in corrupted plasma conduits. "How long ago did this start?" he asked. 2 months, Kyle said. "We traveled to many worlds. Best doctors in galaxy. They try everything. Nothing works." Joe touched one of the crystal growths carefully. It was warm and seemed to pulse with its own energy. This was not just a disease. This was something else. "The crystals you found?" Joe said. "Were they used for power?" Kale nodded. "Ancient power source. Very strong. Our people use similar crystals in our ships, but these were different. Corrupted." That was when Joe understood this was not a medical problem. This was an engineering problem. He had worked on many plasma systems over the years. Sometimes when energy crystals became corrupted, they would cause cascade failures in machines. The corruption would spread through the entire system, turning useful energy pathways into brittle, useless crystal formations. Lyra's body was being treated like a broken machine by the corrupted crystal energy. Your doctors, Joe said, they tried to cure the disease. Yes, medicine, surgery, energy healing, nothing works. Because they were trying to fix the wrong thing, Joe said. He stood up and began pacing around his workshop. This is not a disease. This is system corruption like a computer virus, but for living things. Kale looked confused. I do not understand. Joe grabbed a piece of paper and drew a simple diagram. Your mate's body is like a machine now. The corrupted crystal energy is spreading through her like bad programming. Your doctors try to cure her like she was sick, but she is not sick. She is corrupted. Can you fix corruption? Kyle asked. Joe looked at his workshop full of broken machines and spare parts. He thought about all the corrupted systems he had debugged over the years. This would be different. This would be dangerous. He had never tried to fix a living being like a machine. But maybe that was exactly what was needed. I don't know, Joe said honestly, but I think I know someone who might be able to help. He walked to his communication console and sent a message to his former apprentice, Jaiwin Park. She was the smartest engineer he had ever known. If anyone could help him turn his crazy idea into reality, it was her. Outside, the storm was beginning to calm. Inside the workshop, Joe Kim, morning sunlight streamed through the broken doorway of Taiho's workshop. Kale had not moved from his mate's side all night. He sat on the floor next to Lyra, holding her hand and whispering to her in their alien language. Every few minutes, he would check to see if the crystal growths had spread further. They had. Joe brought Kale a cup of coffee and some human food. The Drari looked at the offerings with confusion. Eat, Joe said. You need strength. I cannot eat while she suffers, Kale replied. You cannot help her if you collapse, Joe said firmly. Trust me. Kale reluctantly took the food. As he ate, Joe studied Lyra more carefully. In the daylight, he could see how the crystal corruption was spreading through her body like a circuit pattern. It reminded him of the time he had tried to repair a mining laser that had been exposed to unstable energy crystals. The corruption had spread through the entire power system before he could stop it. But this was a living being, not a machine. The rules were different. Tell me about these energy crystals your people use, Joe said. Kale swallowed his food and began to explain. Draknari have used crystal energy for thousands of years. We grow crystals in special chambers. They store our life force and power our ships. Every Drari is connected to crystals from birth,